In Britain, we find ourselves in at a point in penal policy, and after decades of ministerial dithering, budgetary corner cutting, ideological confusion, our prison system is now beyond creaking; it's cracking. And the incident involving Axel Rudakabana, the triple child murder, throwing boiling water at a prison officer, and the separate attack involving Hashem Abedi with hot oil and improvised weapons underscores not merely the violence but the utter dysfunction of our custodial arrangements. Britain once led the world in prison reform. The 19th century gave us Elizabeth Fry and John Howard, campaigners who brought moral seriousness to incarceration. Their legacy was not leniency but structure, rehabilitation, work, and spiritual care, and they imagined prisons as places of penitence, not torment. And more recently, we've thought of prisons as places where education can take place and people can leave prisons in a better state than when they arrived. Yet, since the early 2000s, successive governments have either bungled or shelved prison reform. Labour under Tony Blair committed to tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, but built too few modern prisons. The coalition and Conservative governments since 2010 promised wholesale reform. Recall Michael Gove's ambitious 2016 plan for education in prisons, but austerity hollowed them out. Rory Stewart, during his brief but lucid tenure as prisons minister, diagnosed the problem with frightening accuracy. Overcrowded prisons, rotting Victorian infrastructure, insufficient staff, drug epidemics, and a lack of rehabilitation. Stewart promised to resign if violence didn't fall. He tried sincerely, but was gone within a year, the victim of bureaucratic inertia and political short-termism. The UK prison population is approaching 90,000 people with capacity maxed out. Over 60% of prisons are over their intended limits. Reoffending rates remain staggeringly high. 80% of crimes are committed by reoffenders. Drug use is endemic. By the prisons Minister James Timpson's own admission, 100% of prisons have a drug problem. Staff attrition rates are rising and assaults on staff are at an historic high. In a supposedly advanced nation, we now have inmates boiling kettles to scold guards or making shivs out of baking trays. One must ask, who thought it wise to give a man like Rudakabana access to a kettle? Now, talk has turned to importing the American model, the super max facilities designed for extreme containment. Prisons where inmates are locked down 23 hours a day, isolated and surveyed like radioactive material. These facilities are meant not for punishment but for containment of the uncontrollably violent. James Timpson, the former CEO of the family-run key-cutting business and current prisons minister, has said we shouldn't rule anything out. Fair enough. But we should beware of over-correcting. The US system has become a byword for dehumanization, functional perhaps but hardly civilized, and Britain must not become a nation where justice becomes indistinguishable from revenge. Supermax may be a solution for a tiny percentage, the Rudakabanas and the Abedis, but for the rest, what we need is intelligent incarceration, less incarceration where possible, more education, mental health support, and drug treatment where necessary. Since 2005, we've seen the cancellation of several planned prison builds because of cost. The $1.3 billion Titan Prisons project scrapped in 2009, a failure to follow through on the 2016 white paper Prison Safety and Reform, the collapse of Interserve and Carillion, key private contractors for prison maintenance, leaving facilities literally falling apart. A missed opportunity during COVID-19 to modernise the prison estate with tech-based learning or release schemes, and overuse of remand. 16% of prison population today is held on remand, not yet convicted. We need to build smart, not just big. New prisons must be modular, safe and staffed, not merely more bulk beds in a warehouse, investment in a purposeful activity, carpentry, literacy, job training. They must all be central. We must protect the prisoners. No guard should face boiling water or sharpened tin. Access to kettles, oils or cooking implements must be strictly regulated. Higher staffing levels, body-worn cameras and protective gear must become the norm. For non-violent offenders, robust community sentencing with real consequences and real support must replace short-term imprisonment that simply incubates future crime. Rory Stewart once said, You can judge a society by the way it treats its prisoners, and today Britain is failing that test. If we do not act now, not with platitudes but with brick policy and moral clarity, we shall see not just more Rudicabanas, but more staff in hospital, more revolving door criminals, and a society made neither safer nor more just. We must honour the reforming tradition of Elizabeth Fry that we once pioneered. We need to fix what we've broken.